Good morning and welcome to the Ridiculously Early J Morning Show. And we are continuing work on JPrez. I didn't really arrange this sprint with a particular time frame in mind, but now I have set it to 2 weeks and we'll just see how much of it we can get done. And I also have not within here figured out what is like the most important to do. So I'm going to look for the things that are easy and I'm going to try and knock out a bunch of them real quick. Maybe get some quality of life stuff in here. So tie REPL into the command history. Oh, this is easy. This is trivial. That's easy. All right, so org mode stuff. And then this is the harder stuff. And these are all easy stuff. Okay, let's try this. Let's look at what render REPL does. And in update copy R from ed. As far as I know, that works. So let's see. This is in MJE. So you would see this right about here. There's a picture of me. And I'm going to change the way I record things, but I don't see this. So when I'm looking at the screen down here, I don't see myself. And so it's very easy for me to wind up pointing at this interesting picture right here. And then it's, oh, you can't see it. And so I've learned that the tool I'm using to record, so this is called OBS, magic. It can be scripted with WebSockets. And J has pretty good support for WebSockets and also has very good GUI support. And I think if I can get J to make a transparent window, I'm going to actually take a circular picture about this size and put it on the screen here and just make it an always on top window. And then the idea would be that as I move that window around, it would move this around. So I ought to be able to send WebSocket commands as I move that window around to move this around. And I was thinking I would have some little controls in this little window here. So one, it would show me what's covered up on the screen. And if I need to move it, I have to get it out of my way. And then whatever I can't see means you can't see it. I was also thinking, I've got a green screen here back here, and I was thinking I would make a randomly generated, like this thing. This was what I would call a screensaver back in the DOS days. It would just randomly generate text, and you can make different colors of this. And you would just make something like this that would serve as a background. So the thought would be that there'd be a circular window here, and then it would have like buttons for different colors. And you would get like a red version of this and a green version of this. And I was thinking those might indicate different activities that I'm working on, and maybe also include like a context of what I'm doing, like a stack trace. Of course, you wouldn't be able to see that, but maybe I could have another window that shows the stack trace. I'm not sure. But the idea is you'd want them to be always on top windows that don't have the focus that I can see on the screen that I can move around, but then go back to having the terminal have the focus. Or continue to show those things while the terminal has the focus. In any case, the idea was that it was going to be color coding. So if I give some kind of visual feedback to what am I doing in that part of the video, we'll see. So that's probably coming down here. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the inbox for future triage. So this is really a separate tool, but it's kind of part of JPrez if you're doing live presentations. So that would expand JPrez to this whole suite of presentation tools for live streaming. Okay, make sure that R equals 0 in render REPL. In update, copy R from ed. So R is the flag for whether or not we need a refresh. Oh, I think the idea was that I was explicitly setting this somewhere, and I just wanted to double check that I actually cleaned that up because it's necessary. So render underscore REPL. All right, so I don't explicitly set underscore REPL, but I do set it in update. I set R equals R or R ed. So in other words, REPL has a child control called ed, and if its own flag is set or the child's flag is set, then we need to set that. And then if the lines that need to be on screen have changed because we've moved around inside the outline, then we're at a different point in time, and so the REPL needs to be showing a different state. Therefore, also set it to 1. Okay, but this is in the render method, so that would actually be inherited from, oh, I see what this is. This is saying that once that flag is set, we need to unset it. And the question is, should it be unset manually in render, or should it be unset in the framework level every time you render something, you automatically remove that flag? I think the answer is that we want probably both, but that wasn't what the ticket said, is it? So I'm going to go ahead and fix this easily. So I'm going to make a new ticket, inbox for triage. So in the future, we should say render of UI app and other compound widgets should clear R flag on each widget it renders. Meanwhile, we'll go ahead and just set R equals R of ed equals 0. So clear the flag. And then this is done. Well, it's done once we test it and make sure it runs. There's no real test for this, so we just have to run it and make sure that it didn't break anything. And that appears to be working. Yep. All right. Yeah, so it's all working. Git commit set r equals 0 after render. Okay, there we go. Next, I said TSV equals 0 in macro player. It should be 1. That's correct. That was a bug in episode 11. JKVM is for the general framework for doing this stuff. But in UI edit, we have TSV, some random term added. Yeah. So this is a note. Do I need this anymore? The idea was that this TSV is a random modifier, and you set it in number of seconds per key. And then you'll have, it's not seconds per key. It's in milliseconds per key, or in centiseconds almost, because it's 10 times kps in seconds per keystroke. Yes, because of the 10, right? Hang on. TSV. There's no way that's seconds. Is this right? Oh, okay, yeah, okay, I see. TSV times. I was thinking that I had, so the question mark 0 gives you a random number between 0 and 1, like a random float. And then you multiply that by TSV. So it's actually variance. Yeah, so this actually is seconds per key, but it's the max delay for random noise in typing speed in seconds per key. So that makes more sense. So we don't need this comment anymore. KPS is seconds per keystroke. It's keystrokes per second, and then with the when you invert it, that would be seconds per keystroke. Next is seconds between last key press and next key press. Time for next key press macro event in seconds from last key press, in seconds since last key press. No, it's last key press plus some number of seconds, plus some offset, some delta, some delay, plus computed delay. Okay, then Y is seconds since last tick in the update method down here. So this was a documentation for the update method. So Y is seconds since last update, fractional seconds, right? And then T is seconds since last key press. Right, so now we've inlined that comment. We don't need it anymore. Sum of time delta from update bird. Okay, so that was all a bunch of comment cleanup, but mostly what I did was set TSV equals 0 in macro player. It should be 1. No, that is incorrect, because actually what I decided to do was always use question mark 0, and so this is actually incorrect. I don't use TSV anymore. I use TSV times 0, so it's in seconds. And that's the resolution for that. So I didn't actually clean anything up there. All I did was clean up some comments in JKVM for macro playback timer. Okay. All right, some more easy stuff. Make A1 the default for widgets. Okay, that actually is also in UI, IJS, and really I just have to change this to 1. So everything is going to be animated and active by default. The cost is a little bit of extra time, and so the idea is that you can opt out of this. But I would rather have the default behavior be the slower thing, and then you opt out as an optimization. Then you write your update method and you don't know why it's not updating, and you have to remember every single time to go set the A to 1. So that's a tiny change. It's just a quality of life kind of thing. It doesn't cost much to call the method anyway. I can't even imagine it's really even an optimization at that point. It's so fast to call the update methods on these things, ideally. So I'm going to set that to 1, and then that is an easy fix. You say it's an easy fix, but you should always test everything. Because look at that. Okay, so why is that not working? Because now I have some macro that doesn't have an update function, but every widget has an update function. So update W. Do I have something called update that should not be an update method? Where am I? Yeah, update W. So this looks like it's in the edit widget. So ed, reset, no, curse 1. I don't have collect my thoughts here. I'm on a stack now all of a sudden. Make it easier to recover a working terminal if there's a bug. In JPrez right now, you try to debug and you waste brain cycles typing, trying to see the cursor, etc. Okay, all right. But to fix the cursor, you say curse 1 and reset. You should. Okay, I'm gonna just break. It seems like the first time you have the issue, like you lose your cursor, and the second time you lose the ability to recover. You're like in a double nested state or something like that. Let's see. Okay, so how do I debug this now if I can't see my cursor? Let's just try and fix it in the code. I like to do things interactively, but if I can't get this into a working state. So I is the current play state of the macro, and so index error. Okay, this is not a bug with the update method. I see exactly what's happening here. The edit widget should only be active when it's playing a macro. So the edit widget needs to turn that off. The edit widget should be completely passive until you turn A on. So it's trying to play a macro, and the index is -1, right? So this needs to be A equals 0 for this one. So only animate when macro is playing. Okay, so that will fix the problem. I expect this to work now. That's the only animated widget at the moment. So there we go. So everything seems to be working here. And just make sure we can still play it. It does go into animated mode. I already have a ticket to stop the macro. I'm tempted to just jump in and do it now, but instead what I will do is I'll add a note. So first of all, this is done. I'm trying not to just go off, on my username is Tangent Storm. I do tend to go off on tangents. I have ADHD, and it's very easy to just follow my attention wherever it leads. But I'm trying to be a little more disciplined on the show, both for your sanity and for my own, to make it easier to edit. Even if that means being a little slow on the live stream. It'll make a lot more sense when I publish this to YouTube. Okay, so I'm trying to say that I had something I wanted to record here. Oh, it was stopping the keys. I had a thought about stopping the keys. Pause is somewhere in here. No. Stop, start macros during playback. It can take a long time while you're using JPrez. Also, you don't want other keys to fire the macro or it'll screw up. All right, so what I was just thinking was use different key bindings when A equals 1. And then how that works is going to depend on how the key binding stuff works. And right now, keyboard handling is an absolute mess, but I have some thoughts on how to clean it up based a little bit of an inspiration from how the J GUI does it. Worry about that later. I'm thinking there's going to be just like an object that you swap out, or there'll be a standard dispatch system that gets used everywhere. And then, so use whatever modal dispatch system I use for app keyboard focus. And then we can have other keys when it's in play mode rather than having it interpret our key presses. All right, so that's the plan. And I think it's going to be easy to do this. I think I've got a plan, but we'll see. Okay, so A equals 1, the default for widgets. That's done. Now we're going to do this, and that's also going to be easy, but let's go ahead and check our code in. All right, set A equals 1 for widgets by default. And then we've updated the backlog a little bit, and I'll check the backlog in at the end of the episode. I don't want to pollute the commits. Backspace key in editor. So this is easy. I have a backspace key in the editor, but this is really not for the REPL, but for JPrez itself. Like it already works in the REPL, but somewhere in here, we have 3 keyboard states, and the main one kind of goes into the other 2 keyboard states. So when I'm in ed keys, so I just need to basically copy this line. So Control H needs to be KBSP. Yeah, KBSP of lead. Oh, I had it, but there's a bug here. So this was already there, but this is a bug now because I call it KBSP instead of backspace. So I tried to make it even more concise. All right, so this covers the little editor here, the script editor, and then I need one for the REPL itself. And let's see, can I do backspace? I can do backspace, but the backspace key does not work. And then what about here? The backspace key doesn't work. But I haven't reloaded yet, so now if I reload this, the backspace key works. So I bet I have the same issue in either, yeah, I just need to remove that letter K. All right, reload it again. Now E still works, Control H works, backspace works, and then Shift E, and then backspace works, and Control H works, so we're good. I'm happy with that. Maybe I should just check, even though it's not on the ticket, should I just check anything else? This is horrible. I hate doing this, but it's not these ones. I want to see these ones, right? These are oh, wait, what? Yeah. Oh, so this is the alt backwards and stuff like that. I was confused. I wasn't looking at the A versus C here. So this is alt versus control. So keyboard, alt, and then B. And this needs to be KAB _ red for the REPL editor. KAB F underscore underscore red. This is terrible. I don't like this at all. This is totally a kludge, but it's just until I get the keyboard handler the right way. A, B, D, E, F, H, K, T. So those are all there. Those are all the keys that I've defined so far. And I just need to do this as well for lead. Horrified. I'm embarrassed by this code, but I know it's going to be fixed, so don't judge me too harshly. It's on my list, but this is the workaround for now. Okay, so now I should have Alt back and Alt forward, I think moves by word. So reload, edit, Alt B, Alt F works here. So really this was needed to manually copy all keyboard handlers. I'm tempted to say I could write a script that would inspect the namespace and just define all those verbs for you, but that's not the way that I want this to work. So in the backlog, maybe I'll write that idea down, just think about it. No, so keyboard hand. Actually, this could be in the sprint, right? That's this one right here. Focus key binding mess. So one option might be to dynamically copy all of the verbs from the focused widget into the key binding namespace. Clear it out and do that every time the focus changes. But a better option, I think, is to make the namespace in which I look for key handlers dynamic and set it to the app by default when using the UI app. And then the app can do some of that dispatch as well. And maybe this means coming up with, so right now, the top level thing takes the escape codes that the terminal provides and maps them to names. And I think what we should do instead is the output of that should be a code. So it parses input from the terminal, and that can include keyboard input and mouse input, and the terminal has resized and any other kind of commands like that need to be even escape codes for controlling the terminal, like setting whether or not it wraps, setting whether it scrolls, all that kind of stuff. So all that comes in over a standard input, one character at a time, and you don't know if it's coming from the keyboard or what. And so that top level event thing in JKVM needs to parse the escape codes, figure out what kind of event it is, and then coming up with like just standard numbers for scan codes, for keyboard codes or whatever. I think that's important because it gives us the ability to decouple the UI framework from VT100. So one thought I have in the future is that it was possible at one point to get J running, to compile it to WASM and have it run in a browser. So it might be nice to be able to like hook into the browser's keyboard input and render these things inside of a web browser, or be able to do the same thing for SDL or some other like media library where you're getting these things and render to like a screen that is not just a plain old terminal. So be able to do the same kind of stuff, but in an OpenGL window or a SDL window or something like that. I would like the terminal to be able to take advantage of modern graphics features, to do particle effects if you want in your terminal, because it's a fantasy terminal for presentations, and sometimes you might want to highlight something in a way that you can't necessarily do in a traditional terminal. So I still want that emulation layer. I still want it to work in a terminal and degrade gracefully to a terminal, but I'd love to see graphics and all kinds of other stuff in there. But that's way down the line. That kind of stuff is coming. So that's why I'm not just like jumping on the first idea that comes into my head for the key binding thing. I'm not just thinking about a UI terminal library. KVM is keyboard, video, and mouse. It's not terminal. It supports terminal, but I'd like to see it in like a standalone Windows and stuff. Anyway, so that's all done, or that idea is done. Backspace key is working in the editor, and the fix was that to manually copy all keyboard handlers. So we're done with that. And then over here, I think the change that I made in JKVM was just to sort the names. UI edit, sort keyboard handlers. How about alphabetize keyboard handlers? Okay. And then, so now mje.ijs, fill in missing key handlers for lead and red. And that was only high priority because it was driving me nuts when I would ever press backspace. All right, tie REPL to the command history. Probably leave this one for tomorrow and then do these two. So these two are trivial. This one is almost trivial. I would say this is actually not trivial. It's probably easy, but not trivial. So we'll do these three things, or we'll start on these things tomorrow. So key bindings map to name verb. Actually, I think I might have just done that as well. This is easy too. So like here's stop lead, right? So KCM, GHIJKLM is stop of lead. So that was that one. And then down here, these already all work that, except here's, this is stop of red, right? No, this is just stop. This is not in that namespace. GHIJKLM, KCM is KC, or just stop. And then there's also out keys. Yeah, so this first stop, that's because this is taking advantage of, hang on, it was previously called that, but I think that's a bug. Yes, GD, NJE, IJS. Yeah, I put that in the lead namespace, but see, it's already talking about lead in here. If this were in the lead namespace, it would be V. So this is not that what I want. I just called stop. So this stop should be stop. Anyway, so now we can see the entire key mapping, and then we can remap it at our leisure. And so now we need one more of these, and that is out keys. So out keys is this section right here. And in out keys, so any, that's for handling things that don't have, I guess 9 and 0 could have key handlings. But the punctuation, it goes to K underscore any. I think that's fine. But KCO should be open. Yeah, all of these should be like, you know, decoupled, I guess. This one probably we should come up with a better way to, you know, handle punctuation and stuff like names for these things. Which maybe when I have the key bindings set up, they would work better. All right, the L to smudge the whole application. All right, whatever. That follows the rule that it's a verb name. That's fine. It's L to refresh the whole thing. All right, so S is going to be called save. Move this here. And then everything, we'll put all the definitions above that. And we'll just break these into 2 lines. So save. This is Control C to break it out of everything. I actually don't want this. This is what the space handler does by default. Although I don't know if it does reset. So let's see in JKVM. Not the space handler, but the control space handler. Is it app, UI? I think in UI app, KC space? Maybe it's in JKVM itself. I think JKVM by default, the handler for space is break. So where do I look for break? 1, break KVM, KSPC, KCSPC. It definitely works. If I control space, breaks the application. No, maybe it doesn't. It does in that thing. But if I'm just in here and I press control space, it does not break the application. Maybe that's an edit. KC space? No, it's not. Okay, clean up KC space. Figure out where to put it. Figure out where to put redefine KC space as control space as default as break and cleanup cursor for all JKVM apps as a default, like in development. That's your escape. That's your panic button. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and remove this. This is not the right answer. So in edit, pressing enter should not break the application. Maybe in the demo down here. I think there used to be a demo in here where it actually run the edit, but it's not there anymore. Okay. So I'm a little off track. UI edit, do not break KVM loop on control M anymore. That was just a debug thing on KCM. So I'm just make that a separate thing just so that I document that I did it. So it's really done now. Don't in JKVM, don't break on KCM. Okay, so I did that. Reorganize MJE so that all key bindings map to name verbs. So I think I was still doing that. So not in here, but in MJE. This is open. We have it open. How about Control O for reopen? Maybe I should put them down here. And just put these at the top. Reopen, headline, and edREPL. Okay, so then this one is break. This is out keys. I'm going to call this space. Control space. So if I'm in this now and I hit Control C, this was previously Control C. So this is, let's call panic. Control C space is panic, and then panic is, or we'll call it halt. It's not really a panic, it's a halt. Space is halt. Is halt part of J already? No, not like a magic word. So reload now, and then I hit Control space, and Control space should be halt, right? Now that's an error. So break KVM equals 1. You can't just have a assignment next to a string. You can't do that either. You gotta have that. So that's probably why that never worked. So now I don't know how to exit this. But I think if I had this and I hit control space, yeah, okay. So you had to go into one of the other modes. All right, so reload, and now control space did not work. All right, so let's see, KC space, in out keys, no error, break KVM equals 1, and I set it to halt KC space. So does KC space get mapped? It must, because something is handling it. Okay, but is it space? Let's see what it's called in jkvm.ijs. I guess I'm out of time here. So K space, but if it's control space, all right, so controls, oh, K null. That's the official name of that character, is K null. Hang on though, is K null control space, or, because you can also do that by control shift 2, I believe. Control @ sign. Control shift 2. No, okay, I don't actually have that defined anywhere. Oh, okay. Am I still on? Am I still broadcasting? Apparently that was a hotkey for something. Okay, so control shift 2 is a hotkey to start recording my screen in some other application. Okay, grep RNIK _ null. Okay, no. Okay, so I really think control space maps to null, but I'm gonna double check that control space actually sends ASCII 0. Maybe this is a VT100 thing, because the actual character is control @ sign, right? So control shift 2, the actual ASCII character is called control @ sign. And I think modern day keyboards or VT100 or something is mapping that to space. So anyway, the control space should be called, for now, oh, I guess we'll find out, because this will either work or it won't. All right, we don't have a way to do this. We said edit and then control space. I don't know how control space is working there. So now control space breaks. Okay, so it is definitely sending that character when you press control space. But if I don't have a handler for that, why does it break? You would think that would be like built into the keyboard handler, right? Like maybe if you don't define K null, it would do something, but, oh, it's right here. Okay, so this is it. So this is K null. Control space breaks if no K null is found. So I'm also going to consider K null works, but it should probably be KC space, be named that, because control space is what people are going to think when I'm thinking about the keyboard rather than the ASCII control character, especially since this is the actual character. ASCII character 0 is called control #, not control space, but control space happens to emit that character. All right, so this is just KVM, add comment, making K null default handler easier to find. And let's just double check that we've finished moving all of these handlers. So we've got save, we've got reopen, we've got headline. All these handlers are now, so I'm going to call this NBKC space, and later on we'll skip the space. Try to keep it, to one page of text for some standardized page size in between these little, control L characters. Makes it nice to be able to think of your code as living on a single page at a time. You don't have to scroll so much. You don't everything. This line's always at the top. Whatever. Keyboard control. Okay. So out keys. All of these are following that pattern. Oops. I guess that's not true. So let's move all of these up here. Insert line at forward commands. That's borderline. It really should be a single verb name, but I'm okay with that. KD. Put text at del commands. That should be its own thing. So del line, where del line is equal to that. Insert line. Do I have room to put this all on one page? No. All right, so in that case, we're gonna try putting a break here, and then on this page, break it up. We don't have room for that either, so let's move all this stuff up here. So all these little one-line things, save, halt, insert line, delete line, reopen, ed line, ed REPL. And then these are go. So these are back command is this, and it has two key bindings, the Vim key binding and the Emacs key binding. So this is back command, and then this is forward command, which does like the scrolling between the pages as you. These are the commands. So as you okay, let's finish. These go up here. So I like this. Reopen. So let me put one of these on the screen, and then more on here. Oh, KN is play macro. And we'll go ahead and sort these lines. I'm gonna go ahead and call this KC space, even though it doesn't do anything for now. It doesn't do anything yet, but just so I can sort it. Does nothing yet. Okay, and then I'm happy with that. That looks nice. Do I need a line in here? No, I think I can safely merge those together. So out keys continued, out keys continued, definitions, more out keys definitions, out keys definitions. Ed keys all work that way, REPL keys all work that way. REPL keys are all going to go away once and ed keys are probably all going to go away once I can assign focus. All right, so I'm happy with that. So that's all done, and I think I'm done for the day. Yeah, I'm way over time, so let's just reload, make sure I can actually, control script. 310, what file is it? In MJE, what have I done? Always at the last minute, right? So I probably just have a missing curly brace or something. All right. If that were the case, then every time I remove one of these, I should insert one of these. So let's see. Oh, I've got two of them in forward command, that's why. Okay, I don't know how I did that. Okay, probably typed it on one line and then merged the lines together. Okay, so that should work. Control space exits, or panics, or halts, or whatever. Okay, all good. So we are done with this. And then let's see, finished. We'll call this just done. And mark those as done. Just so we can hide that. And I don't need this over here. Okay, so inbox for triage next time. This, and then so hopefully tomorrow we'll start working on some of these that are still easy but not trivial, or that we just didn't get time for today. All right, so I'm done. So I'm gonna go ahead and commit my code, and let's see, map each key to a named command in MGE. Okay, go ahead and push that. We're still done over here. GD backlog fixes for, what are we on? Regems 15. All right. So then also push that, git tag a regems 15, lots of little fixes. And then git push and git push tags. Same thing for the other repository, regems 15. This is just so if you want to, you can now go to the repository and look for that tag and see exactly the state at the end of this episode and not the current state as it will be in the future when you're watching this. So git push tags, and I think we're done. If you're watching this on YouTube, there'll be some videos that YouTube thinks you should watch, so maybe give them a try. And come join me on Twitch every morning from 8 to 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.